Happy National Asparagus Day. I know, you didn't think it was a holiday, neither did I, but I love asparagus, so I thought, why not share with you on Health and Self with me, Ashley Thayer, my favorite asparagus recipe, which is inspired from a very famous recipe that is found on social media. It has kind of grown and become this fantastic tomato and feta cheese pasta dish, but I add asparagus to up the vitamin content and just to make it a little bit healthier. So let me show you what you will need for our Health and Self version of the TikTok pasta. So first you need a bunch of asparagus. When you do get asparagus home, store it in, after you rinse it, store it in water. Only about, needs to come about a fourth of the way up the stalk, but that helps to keep it fresh and crisp until you're ready to cook it. We have about a pint of grape tomatoes, whole wheat spaghetti. I'm actually going to use about half of the box of the whole wheat spaghetti, 1 8-ounce block of feta cheese, and then we have some dried Italian seasoning. This contains parsley, it contains oregano, things like that, a little bit of dried basil. Then we also have garlic powder for a little bit of seasoning. We will use a tiny bit of kosher salt and black pepper, and then I have fresh parsley and basil to top. But first, let's get started on the actual dish. I have a pot of boiling water starting to go for the spaghetti, and my oven is preheated to 450 degrees. So you need a glass baking dish, or it can be a metal baking dish, doesn't matter. You will need about a tablespoon of olive oil. My little trick, use the cap so that way you don't have to dirty up a measuring spoon. That will also provide a good base for your pasta sauce. Then it's pretty simple. We're gonna add in our grape tomatoes. Keep it simple, just add them right into the dish. Put this back here. And then the asparagus. So how do you cut asparagus? We are gonna break these down into 1-inch pieces, but when you get the whole bunch, take it out of the water. Okay, so I want to show you, asparagus actually has its own natural breaking point. So that way you know how much of it to cut, because the bottom ends of the asparagus are traditionally very woody and tough to chew. And they don't honestly taste that great as the top half of the asparagus. So in a bunch, they're grown together. If you take one from the bunch and just give it a quick little snap, that shows you the natural breaking point of the asparagus. So you can see right there, I'll try to pop it up some. So you can see right there, that one naturally broke there. And this is the woody part that we don't want. Now you could continue to do this for all of them in here if you'd like, but that takes too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my knife, line it up to about where that one broke, and just cut straight down. So that way now all of the woody stalks are gone, and then we're going to cut the remaining pieces of asparagus into about 1-inch cubes. So we're going to spread them out just a little bit to give you a little bit more traction, if you will. And you just kind of line it up, line your knife up. It doesn't have to be perfect. I love asparagus, so I'm kind of happy that this vegetable kind of gets its own special day because it's really rich in vitamins. It has a lot of B1, B2, vitamin K. If you see some big ones, you can also kind of chop those. Very rich in folate and iron too, so it's a great kind of powerhouse when it comes to vegetables. Bring my baking dish right back up, and we're gonna add the asparagus in. With the tomatoes, just add it right in. Uh-oh, one rolled away, that's okay. This is when we need like a dog in the studio. Then the dog can kind of come and enjoy. So I'm going to kind of just stir this around so the tomatoes and the asparagus get coated with the olive oil. Then we're going to add our block of 8-ounce of feta cheese. Make a little hole in the center of your vegetables, and you're gonna put the feta cheese right in the middle. We're gonna bake this in the oven so the cheese is gonna get nice and melted and make a fantastic sauce. Now the other thing is we're going to take our dried Italian seasoning and sprinkle it right over, including the feta cheese, over the vegetables and over the feta cheese. Sprinkle it all around. Same with the garlic powder. We're gonna do the exact same thing. Now I do measure this out. It's about a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. I measure it out for the show. Usually I use our, the little shaker it comes in instead of measuring it out. All right, stir these around. You can kind of smoosh the seasonings around, get the olive oil incorporated, get the seasonings incorporated, and then lastly, just a little bit of kosher salt, about 1/4 teaspoon, and fresh cracked black pepper, about 1/4 teaspoon. Stir, stir, stir. Uh-oh, runaways. Now you can eat asparagus raw if you'd like, so that little runaway, you could have just eaten that. Okay. Putting this in the oven, 450 degrees, our oven is already preheated, for about 10 to 15 minutes, but the whole goal is you want the cheese to get nice and soft, you want the tomatoes to roast beautifully, you want the asparagus to roast beautifully. So that's in. Now it's time to get ready and cook our whole wheat pasta. So I have a pot of boiling water going already. We're gonna take about 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. If you salt your water, you do not have to season the pasta. It actually does it for you. So you just kind of shake that in there. All right. And like I said, about half the box. If I was truly making this at home for the girls in DeRiordan, I'd make the whole box. They love pasta. Now the reason why I have chosen whole wheat pasta is because it contains more fiber than your traditional pasta. It's also less refined. So it's a very kind of happy, healthy carb for you, for your family. Remember, your body needs carbs. It's okay to eat pasta. It's your friend. Carbs actually give you energy. So if you think about it that way, if you fuel your body with good carbs like whole grains, and this whole wheat pasta is considered a whole grain, you're serving your body full of energy without some of those like over-the-counter energy drinks or coffee. So we're gonna bring that up to a boil. I already see it starting to go, and then I'll kind of swirl it around a little bit more to get our pasta down into the pot more. Now, I found this recipe, like I said, off of social media, off of TikTok, right? And it's so fun to find recipes and ideas like that on social media. However, my question to you is, do you have a healthy relationship with social media? Do you? Well, I thought I would share with you, in addition, on Health and Self, it's not just about healthy recipes, but maybe I'll share with you a couple of healthy tips on how to have a healthy relationship with social media. It's very easy to kind of get caught up in what you see on social media. It's very easy to spend hours mindlessly scrolling on social media. Well, we don't have to worry about that here, because I'm going to share with you a couple of tips as our pasta cooks. So tip number 1, when you are on social media, is to be a light. What that means is there's so much negativity on social media, so much negativity in the world. Use your voice and your platform to be a light, to shine positivity, to shine a little bit of love, share a little bit of kindness. So be a light. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, set boundaries. Set boundaries when it comes to you and your social media. And by boundaries, I mean 2 different things, essentially. 1, what you share. So kind of like sub-point 2, what you share. Set boundaries. You don't have to, as my husband likes to say, LOL, live out loud. You don't have to share every detail. And I know sometimes we have, auntie so-and-so and grandma so-and-so looking for pictures and family and things like that and want to know what's happening in your life. Well, pick up the phone and call auntie so-and-so or call granny and share with her what's really going on versus always posting everything. So that's kind of like your sub-boundary. Your second sub-boundary is give yourself time limits. Just like we give our kids time limits when it comes to like their gaming devices and their electronics or even playing outside, give yourself time limits on social media right through your smartphone. You can set alarms. You can set little kind of shut off timers within the settings of your phone. So it'll do it for you. It'll say, oh, that's enough Instagram, that's enough TikTok, that's enough Facebook, and it'll shut the app down for you. So setting your boundaries is important. So 1, be a light, 2, set your boundaries. Rule number 3, and I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback on this. No social media before bed. Yes, cut it off. I'd say at the bare minimum, 20 to 30 minutes before you go to bed. The reasoning is because all of the, whether it's exciting things or not so exciting things you read on social media before going to bed plays into your subconscious mind. So it really starts to play a point and kind of can interrupt your sleep. Also, using electronics right before you fall asleep actually stops the production of melatonin, which is that natural sleep aid that your body produces on its own. So you want to essentially, especially social media, stop 20 to 30 minutes, but ideally you want to kind of cut off all electronics 20 to 30 minutes before you go to bed. You know, think about maybe reading a book. That's a good thing. Meditating, just relaxing, thinking about your day. Maybe you do a little journaling. Those are some kind of options that you can do instead of scrolling mindlessly on social media. Now, my 4th and final tip is do not let social media be the very first thing you check in the morning. Nope, don't do it. Don't open up the app. Oh, and I know it's so hard because sometimes you're like, oh, well, I've got to know what happened. Did they end up going to the concert? Did they have fun? I want to see the clips. Well, don't do it. Don't let that be the first thing you kick your day off with, because honestly, again, just like it can play with your subconscious mind before you go to sleep, it can also play with your kind of outlook and your mentality heading into your day. Say you read something that's absolutely horrible or terrible or really sad, that sets your mood for the day. So set your intentions before you reach to check your social media, but the same goes for like your text messages and your email, you know, especially your work email. Don't let that be the first thing you check when you wake up in the morning. So 4 simple tips to help you have a healthier relationship with social media. Be a light, set your boundaries, no social media before bed, and don't let it be the first thing you check when you wake up in the morning. Now our pasta is almost cooked. You can kind of start to see as I move my spoon through it, you can see how it starts to bend over the spoon. We're almost there. You cook it to your desired consistency. Ideally, you want al dente, which is good, so it has a slight little bite. Now, a fun way to check if your pasta is cooked all the way is if you throw it against the wall and you see if it's going to stick. So, I think we should check. I don't know, though. I think we're not. I don't know if we're there yet. Let's see. Let me grab one, and let's see if it's going to be fun. My producer, Kelly, found me a sign that says, if it sticks to the wall, it's done. You ready? Let's see if it goes. I'm nervous. 3, 2, 1. Oh, it sticks. That means our pasta is done. Look at it. It kind of made an S. That's fun. Okay, but what I am going to do, so I'm going to turn my pasta off, essentially, and then I will drain it. But first I want to check on our tomato, feta, and what am I making? Asparagus. Let's check in the oven to see if it's done. Oh, yes. You can smell the asparagus. You can smell the feta, all of those fantastic herbs. Pull this out. Okay. And I'm going to sit this right here because I still need to drain my pasta. But one little tip, when you're making a pasta dish like this that isn't a traditional like sauce, it's good to have about a little bit of the pasta water reserved. So I'm going to use my 1 cup measuring spoon and just steal a little bit of the pasta water, about 1/4 cup, just so that way you use that as a binder. Set that down there. Don't spill. So that way when we want to kind of combine the pasta, it has all the starch from the pasta. All right, so let's drain this. My colander in my sink. Oh, yes. Okay. Set my pot off to the side. Now, for our yummy asparagus, tomato, feta cheese, TikTok pasta, how you get it to be a sauce is you just start to smush the tomatoes, smush the feta cheese together, and just start to stir it. You can see how the cheese got beautifully roasted. The tomatoes almost kind of have like a fiery roast. Now, the goal would be not to have one of these tomatoes explode on my white jacket. So far, I'm doing okay. And remember, we added all those dried seasonings. We added the garlic powder. We added that dried Italian seasoning. So this is a very flavorful dish. Okay, so you can see how we're starting to kind of create almost like, essentially like an Alfredo sauce, but with feta cheese. So it's really, really good. Just continue to smush. The asparagus stays pretty whole because when it roasts, it doesn't get like a mushy texture. So you still have that bite and all of the great nutrients of the asparagus. Remember, because it is National Asparagus Day, you want to kind of up that beautiful iron, the folate, vitamins B1, B2, vitamin K, very high in vitamin K. Vitamin K is good because it's really good for your blood and your cells. Vitamin K is really important as far as repairing your body. So now I'm going to grab my whole wheat pasta and I'm going to essentially just drop it in to shake out any last little bit of water. All right, up and over. Okay, we're going to come shake this right on in. Okay, take my colander, put that back. Now we're just gonna fold in with the yummy feta cheesy sauce and our whole wheat pasta. Remember, we chose whole wheat pasta because, again, it's a whole grain for you. Still get all of the benefits of eating a carbohydrate, the increased energy. Also, when you do have carbohydrates, I want you to remember, carbs are your friend. They're not bad for you, but carbs also help your body to absorb and digest protein. It helps your body to absorb the nutrients from other foods. So, which is why we never want to go 100% carb free. So it is good to have it in your body, in your diet. All right, so slowly but surely. So now I'm going to take my 1/4 cup of pasta water and just add it in. It just kind of helps to loosen up the sauce, and it has all of the starches from the pasta cooking. So it helps the sauce adhere to the pasta better. That's good when you're making any kind of pasta. It's good to kind of remember that. That's also why they say don't rinse your pasta, because you don't want to rinse the starches off. Okay, so this is almost done. Almost done. But because remember, we didn't add very much salt and pepper. What we are going to add though are some fresh herbs. Remember earlier I told you, I'm going to sit this over. It's still very hot. We're going to add fresh basil and fresh parsley. So I have it here. You can grow these at home. I'm going to bring them over to me so that way you can kind of see. So parsley is sold in a bunch. It's actually very reasonable. When you do get parsley home though, a way to kind of keep the length of it and be able to use it longer is to, when you buy it, cut about 1/4 inch off the stems and store it in water. Then, here's where a lot of times people get confused. They leave it on their counter. Oh, because it's so pretty. The greenery is very pretty. Keep it in your refrigerator. It will stay fresher longer. So now we're just gonna essentially just kind of give a rough, to get the leaves off the stems. You don't want too many stems. Sometimes you'll still end up with a couple. Kind of rip them off too. But fresh herbs truly add so much flavor, as well as ups essentially the nutrition content, because they are a green leafy vegetable. Yes, how cool. So we're going to just kind of bunch it up and then just run your knife through it. A nice rough chop. There's a more precise way when you are chopping up basil, which I'll show you. But when you're just doing parsley, it doesn't have to be pretty. Just run your knife through. You can smell, it has a nice fresh smell to it, very kind of earthy, grassy smell, but it adds so much additional flavor to your TikTok pasta. Okay, so move my parsley over to the side. Now, basil, a little bit different. You want to make sure you grab these and grab so the leaves are whole, essentially. You don't want to, you can rip your basil. That's a nice way to kind of get the flavors out. But I actually, I'm a little, I guess what they call like OCD. I like to kind of create a more uniformed cut on my basil. Basil can bruise very easily. Now, this cool little way of buying it from the grocery store helps you, again, to have basil last a little bit longer. For your recipes, for whatever you have. It comes in the soil, almost like I planted it, which is really cool. And then you just water it every day. Keep it in a partially lit, kind of area in your house. It doesn't have to be outside, but it just adds a nice way to have a little bit more longevity from your fresh herbs. All right, so we're gonna roll this up. So I layered the leaves on top of each other, single file, and then I rolled them. And then you just run your knife through. So it makes beautiful little ribbons. You see that? How fun are they? Right there. Let's add a couple more. Now, you can grow basil at home. Basil is a great, easy way. If you're not used to growing plants or herbs, it's kind of like a gateway. It's easy to do, can grow in almost just about any climate, any soil type. It's easy to do. So I just grabbed 3 more leaves and just ran my knife through. Okay, now we're gonna add it to our TikTok pasta. Slide my parsley over, slide my basil over. You can see I have way more parsley than I do basil. Basil's a much stronger flavor than parsley. All right, so take some of the basil, sprinkle it right over top. Take some of the parsley, sprinkle it right over top. Now, fold it in. Much like we did with the tomatoes and the feta and the asparagus to coat the pasta, you want those herb flavors to really marry inside. This is how you kind of upgrade your dishes. This is how you make it seem like, oh yeah, I'm a professional chef, by just adding something as simple as fresh herbs to your dish. Changes the flavor. I even like to add fresh herbs to canned soup, like the traditional canned soup that comes in with the red label that we've all had when we're sick. Add a little fresh parsley, a little fresh dill to that, a little fresh basil, and wow, it changes the flavor tremendously. All right, so I see asparagus, I see tomatoes, I see kind of like our creamy feta sauce. And remember, we didn't add that much salt and pepper. We only added a little bit when we put our tomatoes and asparagus with the olive oil. Remember, with that dried Italian herb seasoning and our garlic powder. I'm ready to eat. I don't know about you, but I am ready. Grab a plate. Let me grab a fork. And then I also need to grab a pair of tongs so that way I can pick up my pasta. So did you know that it was National Asparagus Day? Did you know that it was even a holiday? There's a holiday, a national day for everything. So, especially when life gets pretty mundane, as it can, whether you have kids or not, it's fun to find little days like this to just, make it a little special. Add asparagus to your meal for the day. Now I'm gonna take a few more of my fresh herbs. Maybe it's National eat a cookie day. Well, guess what? Treat yourself to a special cookie, whatever it is. Celebrate it, have fun. That's how we make life more interesting. And remember, social media, be a light. Remember to, what else? Set your boundaries. Remember also too, when you're setting your boundaries, thinking about your boundaries as what you're posting and how much time you're actually spending and consuming on social media. No social media before bed, and don't let it be the first thing you check when you first wake up. Now I think it's time for me to try our TikTok pasta. I'm not doing any TikTok dances. Ashley doesn't dance. Ashley just eats. So flavorful because of the feta. So feta naturally is a saltier cheese. Again, you don't need a whole lot of salt and pepper on this. The fresh herbs really kick it up a notch. The tomato and feta together, melted, make a great, yummy kind of Italian-based sauce. But then by adding the asparagus, I've really increased my vitamin content. I've increased the health value, and I'm getting essentially more bang for my bite. So it's really, really good. Did I get sauce on the side of my face? This is so delicious. So use social media to find fun recipes like this. Share fun recipes. Share your love and your light and your life, but you don't have to do everything on there. You don't have to live out loud, as my husband DeReardon says. So this is the TikTok pasta. For more recipes like this, check out selfsoulspace.com. Again, I'm Ashley Thayer. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram at _Ashley Thayer, or I even have a TikTok. Sometimes the girls get me to do some of the fun dances. It's terrible. If you need a good laugh, set your boundaries and then you can come find me on TikTok. I am at Ashley1 on TikTok. I even know my TikTok handle. That's impressive. But find, follow, enjoy, like, and just have fun. But remember, don't do it too much. Anyway, I'm Ashley Thayer. This is Health and Self, and I will see you next week right here on DETV.